Pastry is, a baked food made primarily from flour, fat, and water. It's honestly one of the oldest culinary creations, with roots stretching back thousands of years. Pastry can be sweet or savory, light and flaky, or even dense and rich. The origins of pastry are believed to trace back to ancient Egypt and Greece. Egyptians used a crude form of pastry with honey and nuts, while Greeks wrapped foods in a primitive dough. Over time, pastry evolved into the refined art we know today. In medieval Europe, pastry dough was often used as a container to hold fillings during baking. These coffins or crusts were not always eaten but served as cooking vessels. This early use really paved the way for pies and tarts. Pastry as an art form truly flourished in France during the Renaissance. French chefs perfected techniques for puff pastry, croissants, and choux pastry. France remains, without a doubt, the global leader in pastry innovation and tradition. So there are several basic types of pastry: shortcrust, puff, choux, filo, and flaky. Each one has its own unique methods of preparation and, distinct textures. Understanding these categories is really the foundation of pastry making. Shortcrust pastry is actually the simplest and most common. It's made by mixing flour and fat until it gets crumbly, and then binding it all together with water. This type of pastry is widely used for things like pies, quiches, and tarts. Puff pastry is famous for its light, flaky layers. It's created by folding and rolling butter into dough, multiple times. The result is a pastry that rises dramatically in the oven. Choux pastry is unique because it's cooked on the stovetop before baking. It actually forms hollow shells that can be filled with cream, custard, or even savory mixtures. Some famous examples, just so you know, include eclairs and profiteroles. Filo pastry, sometimes called filo, is a paper-thin dough that's used in Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisines. It really requires careful handling and layering with butter or oil. Dishes like baklava and spanakopita, well, they really rely on filo's delicate texture. Flaky pastry lies somewhere between shortcrust and puff. It actually requires less precision than puff pastry, but still results in that lovely layered texture. It's often used, for example, for things like turnovers and sausage rolls. So, pastry relies heavily on butter or fat for texture and flavor. The fat coats flour particles, which actually limits gluten development and creates that lovely tenderness we all enjoy. And, the type of fat, whether it's butter, margarine, lard, or oil, really does affect the final product. Temperature control is, honestly, crucial in pastry making. Cold butter and chilled dough help create those flaky layers everyone loves. But if you overwork or warm the dough, it can result in a tough pastry, which is definitely not what you want. In sweet pastries, sugar adds sweetness and also helps with browning. Eggs might be included as well, for richness, structure, and color. And dairy products, like milk and cream, can really enhance both the flavor and texture. So, pastry fillings are pretty much endless, ranging from fruits and custards to meats and vegetables. Sweet pastries tend to highlight jams, chocolates, and creams, while savory pastries often feature cheese, spinach, or seasoned meats. The croissant is, without a doubt, one of the most iconic pastries in the world. Even though it's famous in France, it actually originated in Austria as the Kipferl. French bakers later refined it into the buttery, flaky delight we all know today. Danish pastry is another international favorite. It originated in Denmark but was influenced by Austrian bakers, combining laminated dough with sweet fillings. These days, it's enjoyed all over the world with fruit, custard, or cream cheese toppings. In the Middle East, baklava really stands out as a symbol of pastry tradition. Made with layers of phyllo dough, nuts, and honey syrup, it's both rich and celebratory. It's often served during festivals and family gatherings. In Britain, savoury pastries like Cornish pasties and sausage rolls are, truly iconic. They represent the practical, portable meals of workers in history. Even today, they remain a beloved part of British food culture. In Asia, pastries take on some really unique forms. Mooncakes in China and curry puffs in Southeast Asia highlight the region's creativity. These pastries often carry cultural symbolism and are tied to festivals. These days, modern pastry chefs, they're really pushing boundaries with fusion techniques. They're mixing up traditional doughs with all sorts of new flavors. Think matcha croissants or even chocolate chili eclairs. It's this kind of innovation that keeps pastry exciting and totally relevant in contemporary cuisine. Pastry is honestly also a form of visual art. Chefs spend ages crafting intricate decorations, glazes, and shapes to really elevate the presentation. A beautifully made pastry, it's just as much a feast for the eyes as it is for the palate. Pastry shops or patisseries are cultural landmarks in cities worldwide. In France, they are admired for their elegance and sophistication. In other countries, bakeries serve as community hubs where pastries bring people together. The science of pastry involves chemistry and physics. Steam from water in the dough helps puff pastry rise. Gluten formation, fat distribution, and oven temperature all play crucial roles. Pastry making requires patience and skill. It is often considered a test of a chef's precision and artistry. Even simple pastries can be challenging without proper technique. In conclusion, pastry is more than just a baked good. It is a global expression of culture, creativity, and craftsmanship. From delicate French eclairs to hearty British pasties, pastries delight people everywhere. Their history, diversity, and artistry make them timeless treasures of the culinary world.